Good morning, everyone. Welcome along. Welcome to Steelhorse Station. Hope you're all well. It is Tuesday, the 1st of August. Horse's birthday here in Australia. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. But yeah, racehorses all get a year older today. Now, let's just head straight across. We are going to Newlands. And we've got a few things to do here. Now we're at the end of August, but we need to finish getting the canola in before we can roll the day forward into September. So I think that's going to be our first chore. We have begun. Yeah, we definitely need to get this canola off. So let's just drive you around a little bit further. Well, actually what we might do is sort of a drive off this side of the field. Otherwise we'll get stuck somewhere where we can't get the trailer. I'm sure when we roll a day over, we'll have pigs to feed and all the usual activities, but for now, maybe we might make it around. What's it going to be? We take the punt. Look, let's just take the punt. How much trouble could we create other than plenty? Well, that first coffee's going down fairly well. I noticed there were quite a few mods released on ModHub today, so one that we might have a look at actually a bit later on. It's the Mercedes-Benz tractor of all things, so an old one that somebody has done. I don't know if it's a mod brought forward from somewhere or it's a completely new mod, but thought it looked pretty good and something that we might have kicking around on our farm, so I might have to give that one a whirl. I'm not surprised it's a little quiet on the stream today, although it looks like somebody's come in the door, but it's definitely holiday season in the northern hemisphere, so I'm sure lots of folks are taking advantage of that, which is a good opportunity for them, and this will work out fine. Well, John's senior. And so the $64 question, John, it's now 9 hours later. Have you been successful? Have you got a working PC? You're still going. Dear, oh dear. Well, who knew you needed a technology project to keep you busy for the summer? Now, what do we got over here? I was baling some stuff there. Well, we need a trailer. To pull the trailer, we require a tractor. There we go. That one will do. as you can see, I created a mess over there. I tried to put some wheat in the silo, and it was very interesting. I was able to tip barley, and that auger would quite happily pick it up off the floor and put it in the silo. But I put some wheat down there once we'd emptied the barley out of the silo, and do you reckon I could get it to work? Not on your life. So I don't know what's going on with that. I gave up in disgust. Hodge 1, welcome along. You can keep John company. He's been doing battle with a recalcitrant set of PC components for almost a week now. Ah. It's loud. Well, working's a good start. That's a significant progress. And volume control is usually just a matter of figuring out which driver is actually in charge of producing the sound. Let's go here. As you can see, I cleared a little bit of straw off and baled up some over there. I just sort of decided we had enough straw bales to do the things that we needed straw bales for. I loaded a couple of loads of loose straw and then looked at the clock and realised, oh, rubbish, we're almost at the end of August, and we've still got to get the canola off the field. I understand that, Hodge 1. It's like anything. I've always been just innately curious about how things work. And then as I grew up, I realized that, you know, we all have some skills and not others. I quite like logic and all those sort of things. So programming as a kid, I sort of got introduced to it. I was just at the right time at school. Later half of my schooling, we had a teacher that was interested in computing, and so ran a few classes on very basic programming, no pun intended, and that was just interesting to me. And then I discovered that whilst I liked sort of doing stuff, my hands didn't always give me the result that I wanted, even though in my head I could see what I was trying to do, whereas a computer, actually I could make it do what I wanted. And that kind of intrigued me, so I kind of retained a level of interest in how they work. It turned out that writing code was just an interesting thing to learn to do at university, but I didn't do it for a living. That didn't seem, the concept of that didn't seem like fun to me. There were other things that I could do to work in the industry that were a lot more entertaining to me. But I certainly understand the sentiment. In fact, one way to look at my career was I spent the whole time on the boundary between the technology industry and business, sort of translating back and forth between the two in one sense, because there's a fair chance that at least 75% of the world is just like you, Hodge One. So that's a BIOS setting, John. Windows will quite happily install from wherever you want, but if you want to be able to install it from USB, there'll be a setting in your BIOS to tell your motherboard to look at the USB before it looks at the disk drives. Almost made it around the lap. We'll just stop there. I have a laptop sitting on my kitchen bench that I just bought, which is my first Windows 11 device, so I'm expecting to be frustrated by it, but it came with it pre-installed on it, so I kind of didn't have a choice. But I usually have an orientation period going to a new version of Windows. At this stage, I have no intention of upgrading my main machines. The purpose of the laptop is to have a device to transfer photos to while we travel over the coming month. There we go. Making good progress through this field now. Yes. It's often not a bad practice to, even though you might not, it might not take you there, to jump into the BIOS settings if you're setting up a new machine, to make sure it's set up to operate the way you want, depending on whether it's something that's been partially pre-assembled at the dealer, or you're just getting components out of the box. The out of the box motherboard settings aren't always what you expect, which, given the level of optionality in lots of them, is not really surprising. Once upon a time, BIOS settings, you could fit on one low resolution screen page. Now they run to 5 or 10. Oh well, there's nothing like having a big panoramic scene on the big screen, and my head will be a little oversized. I can't remember if I asked you the other week, Hodge One, is summer holidays in your plan this year? Or are you working through? No holidays. Someone's got to keep the country running. And I'll ask because I'm curious, not because it's my sport. But did the overnight news, was that a newsworthy thing in Canada? Obviously, with the Women's Soccer World Cup being played here in Australia, New Zealand, not a bad plan, John. But as you might imagine, Hodge One, and if you didn't know, then I perfectly understand. That's what I was more sort of curious about, because the Australian media was in no idea, John. Completely clueless. That would give you an idea of what's getting all the coverage on the news. But yes, the women's soccer would appear to, or women's football, I guess you guys would call it, is getting coverage that the men's version of the game can only dream of here at the moment. The Australian media were busy heaping pressure on right up until the start of the game, pointing out that, you know, no host city had ever failed to make it through to the knockout round, and all the other nonsense, as if they weren't under enough pressure playing in their home country. I watch some news. I try to sort of, I don't watch it all the time. It's because it's a bit too miserable for me. But there are occasions where I find it interesting to see what's going on with the world. I try to be a bit selective. I miss newspapers. And I know I can get online versions, but it's been quite interesting to watch how all of the major news publishers either put everything behind a paywall or attempt to use the search engines to control what you actually get to see, which drives me mad. When I want the news, I want the news. I don't want someone's version of what they think the news I want to read is. And I know that's not 100 miles different to what, you know, a news editor always did for a paper or the... But it just feels a lot more contrived. So we're going to put, where are we going to put the canola? We probably should put it straight in the pig pen, I guess. Oh, we'll put it straight in the pig pen for the minute. Yeah, this is going to be a pain because I'm in the wrong vehicle. Yeah, I watch, yeah, come on, turn. That was 2. You can get around there. I know you can do it. Now we want a left. Why can't I tip left? What's happening here? Tip side grind or tip side left? That's what I want. You should, there it is. Put the whole lot in there. Let's see what the deal is. Pigs. Free range pigsty. Well, they've got plenty of that, but they've run out of a couple of other things. And that's a start. Yeah, well, the main free-to-air TV station this household watches is the 9 network in Australia. Although I have my moments with it. If I want to read the news, I use the government-sponsored ABC, which is the kind of the national government. What's government-sponsored? It's a bit over the top. Government-funded news service. But then I flick around some of the others. So I don't generally watch Al Jazeera a bit when I lived in India for a couple of years. But I don't tend to watch it so much. It was quite interesting during COVID, actually. I read quite a few articles out of The Guardian because I found that they, in the early stages of the pandemic, they were a lot more informative and practical than I was otherwise getting. What is going on here? Why are you not? There we go. And I have no time at all for Fox News in the US. I tend to watch I'll pick and choose articles from CNN, and then I try and pick, like, if there's something happening in the US, I try and pick up a regional broadcaster or NBC. The Grunya. But we're certainly in a world where you've got to, if you want to actually understand what's going on rather than just be fed a line, you're forced to go and find news from multiple sources, because otherwise you've got no way of deducing which bit's made up and which bit's actual factual, which is really disappointing. Good morning, Grant. Now, have you in fact had any sleep since we last saw you, Grant? That's the important question. The reason I ask is because John is still trying to fix his PC. So things are taking longer. It's a worldwide pandemic. In fact, I noticed when I started everything up this morning, YouTube still hadn't finished processing last night's stream to high definition, which is really a bit weird, because normally what I do is I'm starting up the machine, I release last night's stream to public as it's all done. Yeah, you could be dreaming. It's true. I'm scared about the fact that you'd be dreaming about us and Farm Sim, but hey, weirder things have happened, Grant. Just got to run with it. Indeed, Hodge one, indeed. We still have a trusted face. It's one of the reasons we watch the 9 News here in Melbourne. So the newsreader that's there is a newsreader from my childhood. And it is comforting. Okay, coming up at 85%. Right, do an unload here. Good. Let's try putting it in the trailer, it'll work better. So the mod that I downloaded today, not sure if it's, I'm guessing it's a small tractor that I saw came out on the ModHub overnight, and I'm keen to give a whirl. Goodness me, we've got a lot of tractors mods. Oh, there it is. No, that's the portrait. It's not the one. I haven't ticked the box, have I? I downloaded it, but I didn't actually select it. So it's not there. We'll have to go out and get that in a minute. Oh, almost out of coffee. Yep, I can recommend it, Grant. Definitely a plan. Well, today's a big day in our household because it is the first day of Mrs. Steele's retirement. She officially finished work yesterday. She has told them she will not be returning, much to their horror. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, she's been pleasantly surprised by the number of people that have said, "Oh, you'll be back. You'll come and help." That's progress, John. Definitely progress. No, well, that's the conversation we've been having for a while. A couple of years ago, when it became clear I wasn't going to get another job, that no one would employ me to do what I was qualified to do, and I wasn't interested in fighting about it anymore. I sort of started the conversation not to encourage her to retire, but to just make sure she understood that we were in a position to retire, and therefore she could when she wanted to. So, and she really quite liked her job. She was working with childhood friends, actually. But COVID kind of changed aspects of it in unexpected ways. People got ruder and more entitled, and in the end, that sort of tipped her decision. We are about to travel for a few weeks, Hodge One. So there will be a pause in broadcasting. There'll be another week or so of streams, and then we'll take a bit of a break. We don't have any super long travel plans. It's more just got a bit of a sort of a pencil list of, oh, well, might be nice to do that, it might be nice to do that. We sort of don't feel like we're in a rush by any stretch. But the first order of business is to go and visit her sister's family in Europe, who she hasn't seen in person since pre-COVID, and they're very close. So we're going to share a house in Croatia for a couple of weeks, which will never been there before, so that'll be good fun. It's also large, Hodge 1. There's lots of Australia to see. So when I travel, I like to see how other people, wherever they might be around the world, how they actually live. I quite enjoy short stints living. The whole Airbnb thing works quite well for me, generally speaking, because it gives you an opportunity to not feel so much like a tourist. And growing up in a country like Australia, where, you know, the oldest building's kind of a couple of 100 years old, if that, it is quite intriguing to go to other parts of the world where constructed civilization is, and the history attached to it is much, much older. Wandering around Australia, you've got to look a lot harder to find the evidence of life and human settlement. It's there, but just takes a bit more of a education and guidance to understand what you're looking at, which thankfully the First Nations folks are getting much better at explaining to us slow learners. But I have a feeling that somewhere in our future will be the grey nomad experience with some camping equipment, and we might do a lap of the country. I do have sort of a one of the notional pencil items on my list is to do a lap of Australia on my bike. And given that's about a give or take 15,000 kilometre trip, and when I say bike, I mean my steel horse specifically, my 1200 Tourer. But I can't. She would hate it. So, and being too up for that long might be stretching even our relationship. So, I'm quite not sure how to do them. If we do a lap, no, no, it is not. If we do a lap, it'll more than likely be in a four-wheel drive with a off-road camper on it at some point, but that's probably a few years away. Like I said, we've got sort of items that are starting to appear on a semblance of a list, but in no particular order. And, you know, we're in a pretty fortunate position. We've sort of pulled the plug on the work thing earlier than most because circumstances have led to it and or allowed it. Yes, well, anywhere, I enjoy traveling anywhere, and we've done a lot of driving in other countries as well, so I did briefly mess with the idea when I was living in India of buying an Enfield at the end of my contract and then riding it round to Singapore and before getting it shipped home, but decided that that was probably a little over my ability and drive levels. It didn't help. I didn't have anyone. Travel to me is much more fun if you're with someone. I've spent so much of my business career traveling by necessity on my own that these days when I travel, you want to experience it with someone. So, and that's sort of the tricky bit with the whole lap concept is, whilst the active part of it, doing it on the bike would be fun, doing it on my own on the bike doesn't sound like fun at all. That just sounds like hard work. Whoa. So, many things to consider. I've never been short of ideas, and I'm quite confident in our ability to execute once we sort of narrow down what it is we want to do. And she'll need a little bit of time. I mean, it's not easy for me. I've been out of work for a while, so it'll take her a while to get used to the fact that she's not just on holiday, that she actually can completely do what she chooses to do when she chooses to do it. Right, we're getting this job done. Should get there. Oop. Itchy nose, sneeze coming. Excuse me. Yes, well, in fact, you'll notice we haven't been interrupted by the dog. I suspect that exactly is happening. One of the things I find nice is not spending most of Sunday worrying about all of the stuff that you have to do on Monday. And to some extent, largely losing track of what day of the week it is or what day of the month it is. That, to me, that's a feature. Yes. Well, he's just happy she's home because she went up to spend the weekend with our daughter in Queensland, and so that the dog just didn't understand that she wasn't here or why she wasn't here. So he kind of went on his usual semi-hunger strike for the weekend until she got back. He is very much a creature of habit. And is likely to be singularly unimpressed with going into the kennel in a couple of weeks' time. Probably one and a bit unloads, I reckon. I think we'll fill this tank and then there'll just be a smidge left. But then we can roll the day forward and sort out what we've got to do with the pigs. Actually, while we're rolling the day forward, that's when we'll restart and flick the switch on that mod that I wanted to have a look at. Maybe we'll get all this in the tank, who knows. That's that bit. Pick you up. Actually, what we might do I can understand that, John. Well, the mod, I think you can be confident in the ModHub. You still get mod conflicts from time to time, but I don't think there's any way around that. If, you know, like most players, you want to use some mods, you just always open the specifications that Giants provide for modders to work to just aren't consistent enough. And, you know, there's not enough of a formal API to eliminate mod conflicts, so they are always going to be about. And as long as you stay off all of the sites that purport to provide mods, restrict yourself to apps to itch.io or a modder's direct Facebook page, you should be pretty right. The good thing is there's actually quite a large number of pretty good maps around at the moment, so finding something to play isn't as difficult. Yeah, I think King Mods is better than some, but it's like anything. Often it's not the direct mod site, it's the server that you get directed to for the mod that can be the problem. I use Ghostery on Chrome and that seems to help a lot. Not that I download many, but for example, when I grabbed that Castle Nord map the other day, that's a nightmare. If you just take it native off the site, it's full of goodness knows what malware, which took me a little while to clean up the mess that made, because I wasn't paying enough attention. I just took it as read from that because it was on FSG's, like he'd put us, I just expected that his link would be pretty safe, and the link itself was safe. It's just what it gave you when you downloaded the map that was the problem. Now, what we might do here, but Ghostery sorted that out completely, which was good. Now, what I think we're going to do is we'll save and we'll quit the game, and then we'll do something that Jason suggested just quickly. So if we jump over here and go to there. So Jason's suggestion was FS22 mod safety workbench map, Court Farms. Jason's suggestion was what would happen if with the gates that we did the other day. So you'll remember, and you can see what I'm seeing, which is good. I don't want to do that in the middle of what I'm up to here. So we changed the steel gates, which were these 7-bar 14-foot gates, so that they rotated slightly wider. His question was, well, if you wanted to get the gates out of the way completely, what about if you, instead of having them rotate, that's really interesting, Grant. Mine was a nightmare. It brought with it a nasty piece of malware that so what that tells me is our innate virus protection setup might be a little bit different, and mine didn't stop something that yours did. That is always a possibility, but it certainly came with a payload which got in the way until and it was one of those payloads that was trying to make out there was a crisis when there wasn't. So it kept telling me that I had a virus and I needed to do a whole bunch of urgent things or the world was going to explode. It's like, yeah, that doesn't sound really right. But turning it all off again and getting it cleaned out was just took a little bit of time. And as I say, as soon as I put Ghostery on, it sorted it out for me. Now, so anyway, back to what I was Jason's question slash idea was, well, if you want to get the gate out of the way completely, instead of just opening it to 120 degrees, what would happen if you rotated it in the vertical direction to 180 degrees? So in effect, put it underground. So that's what we're going to try and see what that does. So that will be the Z parameter. So we just save that there. And this is just an experiment. I haven't tried it before. I just told him that we'll give it a go on the try. I've got a couple of suspicions about what the situation it might create, but the best way to find out is to try it. So that's saved there. So we need to go back here to our map and delete that and zip it up again, which will take a second. Have you used it before, John? It's very easy, but it operates as a plugin for whatever browser you're using. I use it with Chrome. Perfect. Okay, so this is going to be FS22 underscore court farms. Yes, and we're going to copy you into Court Farms. And then we're going to go out here for a second. Quick test. Whoops. Quit out of there. Over here to somewhere down here is Court Farms, which will launch. Then we'll go back to there. Oh, try that again. There we go. And you all should be back with the game booting. Where do I have a save game for Court Farms? It's a $64 question, of course. There it is. Start that. Excellent, John. Well, this one might be just a little bit out there. So, as I said, I haven't tried it. I understand the idea behind the concept is pretty good. Oh, so you can see what I was doing here. This is where I did the remove the horse pasture the other day. Let's find somewhere with a gate. That, because they'll all operate the same. I've only got wooden gates in my immediate vicinity. At least you've done it once, John. You know you can get it sorted. Is that a steel gate hiding down the bottom there that I see? Maybe not. God, there's 140 of these steel gates on the map. Do you reckon I can find one? Let's go. I know there's one over here. Let's go there. Right. So this should do something really bizarre when we open it. There we go. Okay. So the answer to your question, Jason, is it works a treat. It looks a bit bizarre with the opening animation, but gate is gone. And if we put up the... My concern was, and you can see it there, was depending on how the... So that's the that box that's standing up there is the hit box for the gate itself. My concern was that depending on the axis origin that was set for the gate, which appears to be down at or just under the ground here, that would affect, there was always the chance that this collision you can see across the top and the bottom of the gate might be left above the ground, which would create a bump. And so there you go, Hodge 1, you can open it and close it because you're not changing anything about the detection point, you're only changing the physical piece of the gate, which is why it just disappears into the ground there for you. So yes, it'll open and close. Looks a bit weird coming out of the ground, but now of course, if you want to do that, you don't have to have it open to the 120 degrees at all. You can just change one of those axes and it'll work fine. So we'll leave that in there. What's the timestamp? How far through the stream are we? About 1:05 in for Jason. If he gets a chance, I'll try and remember that that's about where it is. But that was Jason's idea, and it looks like it works a treat. Let's actually, can I get over to one of these gates? Where was it? Where was it? I reckon it's... trying to remember where on the map. It might be over here, actually. Let's just run up the road here. Turn that off. It'll be the same on all, and it's just a question of if any of them are set a little bit too high off the ground, that's when you could end up with the situation that after opening it, they pop back through. And what I particularly want to look at is the one that looked funny that came through the hedge up here. Almost there. Yeah, see. All fine. So if you want to make them disappear completely, it works a treat by the looks. That's not the one. Almost there. And yes, I could have turned on running faster, but I forgot. I'm almost there now. Long country. We all need a jog. Let's see, what's this one? That's got a little bit of terrain to navigate. No, worked a treat. Gosh, it was a lot further up this lane than I thought. Unless I'm not in the right spot. I give up. I give up. I'm not where I thought I was. Might be over here, actually. Never mind. we know it works. We've proved the point. Let's get out of there. So now, shut that down, switch back across to Newlands, and let's actually make it the active map. Remember to enable the mod while we get there. Which we've just got to find when it starts. Oh, goodness mate, let's try doing things in the right order. Now, so I can show you again before we get in. Let's just do that. So the setting that we changed, it's literally the next one across from the one you did the first time. So if we go to the workbench map, God Farms, maps, XML, animated objects. So the part of the gate that drives the rotation has three parameters, X, Y, and Z. So Y is the one we changed before. So that changes it rotating laterally, if you like. And the Z parameter is the one I just changed, and that tips it in the other way, in the other direction. So you got basically you got one rotation for each axis in a three-dimensional view, with the second one being Y. So we just changed the third one, and as I said, you don't have to change the second one if you don't want to, because it'll just, you're tipping it into the ground. So that's that there. Let's go back to here and find this tractor that I downloaded somewhere. So it's I don't want to just deselect and select, because there are some mod conflicts with a couple of these that I've been through the process of. There it is, MB track 440, that's the one. Start you up. Well, we know it's, it's at the, it is a lot to remember if you're not familiar with it. It's at the 1 hour, 5 minute mark of the stream. We're back in and good to go. Okay. Now, we were just doing, no problem. So let's have a look at this tractor. Is it coming out as a small tractor? Across here. There it is. That looks pretty funky. 40 grand. $1982 year of manufacture. Yes. Let's have a look. I reckon we want to use. Oh, that's the, see, I like it when modders do that. So I don't know if you notice there. So there's a configuration that is a used version, and it comes with a negative price modifier, so you can get the tractor cheaper if you buy the used version. Family sap green, or you can pay more to get different. I reckon we'll go with the standard used engine setup. Let's go with the 900 wheels, wide. That'd be a front 3-point, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's put a front 3-point on it. Folding windows, no. Additional lights, yes. Trailer hitch, yes. A Sharmula. What's a Sharmula hitch? Standard hitch, I think. Cyclone air filter. No. We don't want fender extensions. Remote valves. No idea. Standard hubs. We don't want a front loader attacher. Let's take that. Just because I'm curious. Right. So we can jump over and pick him up. Oh, goodness me. I was supposed to roll a day forward, wasn't I? We'll have a look in just a sec. Lodge one. Let's go there. Oops. Pick up that. Let's wake up at 7. The reason I bought it first is we'll probably run out of cash doing that. Oh, not quite. Now, if we jump across to the store, we can put time up. Looks like you need to go sell some trees, that's for sure. FM tree sell. We've got a thingo of honey there, which we also need to flog. I'm in the way. Where's the honey need to go to? Honey is also selling at the farmer's market. Okay, so why don't you go to farmer's market? Wait. No worries, Jason. So did you, have you just joined us, or did you catch the fact that your idea works exactly as you intended? We just jumped across to Court Farms and did a demonstration of your rotate in the Z dimension idea, and it worked exactly as you hoped. If you didn't see it, it's at 1:05 on the timestamp for the stream. So there we go. You reckon it looks like an early JCB? I reckon it looks like a if this was the machine that existed, this is probably the inspiration for the class. Oh, what's the name of that? The Terras. There it is, Zerion. It looks very much like an early model Zerion. And no, it's the answer to your question, Lodge 1. No, it's quite peppy. It's not four-wheel steer. This'll do the trick. Well, it's quite possible that once it came out, if it hit any sort of sensible spot in the market, other manufacturers might well have licensed it. Mercedes-Benz there at one point were quite good at doing that in markets that they weren't interested in developing, they're just selling their product to someone else. Horn's coming up nicely. So what I'm intrigued to do is let's whack it on the mulcher and see if we can mulch this canola field. It'll be a good little test for how it goes. I didn't put a weight on the front of it. I probably should have. Can't remember how much horsepower the mulcher needs. Let's jump out and find out. Speed max requires 130 horses. Okay, that's not going to work very well. Find another job for you. What you like with towing, you should be able to pull that all right. And put you on the mulcher. Right, so one of those, 5.5, 3 headlands, start work on the center. Yep, that works. You still got product in you. What we might go and do is grab let's see how you go with the other trailer. Let's see what you tow like and whether I put the right hitch on. Nah. So I'm guessing Schwammler is the what I would consider to be a standard hitch, and the one I put on is a pin hitch. Noticed recently the ploughing option is set to off. Ah, let's have a look. So it hasn't changed here. I'm not aware of it. You never needed to plow every season, so I'm not aware that that aspect of it's changed. What am I? Just on new maps, okay. Interesting. One of those undocumented features that they fail to tell us about when they do the patch change logs, potentially. What we're doing is we're looking at pigs. We're seeing over at the... Right, so we've got to get over to the the fattening yard and sell those before we run out of food over there. And then in the extension yard, we've got similarly some that we want to shift so that we can sell them, and we've got to actually feed the main pigsty, right? So what you can do is back the truck up. And go and get some grain grist out of our newly produced out of our mill. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of under horsepower, I'm guessing, when I fill it up with grain grists. Don't want sugar beet cut. I suspect it's finished making all the grain grist. Oh, we're out of... nowhere to put anything, right. Deactivate you, because you are. But there's a heap of grain grist in there, which is good. And I'm hoping 140,000 litres will keep the pigs fed all year. At least that's the plan. Just a little underpowered for the size of the trailer, but with a smaller trailer it'd probably work a treat. It's very maneuverable. Okay, it's actually we go hunting through the gearbox, so the ranges aren't, you got to sort of drive it a bit more manually to get some performance out of it by the looks. I'm liking it. I reckon we'll put that whole load in there. Let's head down here. I can take you off the baler for the moment. You need some maintenance before we do anything. You are seriously ugly. Probably the next building we need to buy on here is... Oh, goodness. Put the tractor in the right spot. Come on, Steel. Concentrate. Concentrate. Next building we need to buy on here is a workshop, I think. I'm not going to repair a weight for 50 bucks. So it's a bit more complicated. Yes, that you well spotted, Hod One. It's a bit more complicated and therefore not something that I am super skilled at. It's not as simple as just one XML parameter change, is my understanding. You've got to actually change the work area in the model. Let's go and get some fuel as well. So if we, well, maybe I can actually, maybe I can show you. I need to go to test stuff. Just give me a second. Have I got any equipment? The one time I tried to do it, I got myself tangled up. And so I stopped. So what I've tended to do is just pick mods that work the way that I want. Yeah, so this, from memory, there's 2 places you've got to change it. It's a, so the price side one is a function of the purchase price of the tractor and how much maintenance it needs. I'm just looking on my list here. I don't actually have anything. Maybe I do. I don't have the right, I don't have a piece of equipment grant that I can easily show. But in Giant's editor for the piece of equipment, part of the scene graph will be the area, the work area. And that's then got to tie up with the XML to achieve the effect that you want. There are several bits of equipment that do what you're trying to do. So is it the cultivator you're looking for, or the mulcher for the vines? No, that's what I want. Either or both, right? So I find I like using. Well, the $64 question is, have I got them on here? Great tech. I don't. It's that one. What is that? Let's go to mulches. I've used this guy quite successfully at 2.7 meters. From memory, there's no collision box on that little bit onto the left, and so he fits down the vines quite nicely, and you can zoom through. Or this one. Are pretty good. And then on the cultivator front, is it a cultivator or is it a this? Oh, it might be a subsoiler actually. It is. I use. Oh, I don't have it here. The Sigma generally, and it operates a bit like what you described. So it's got an operating width that's a little. It's not as narrow as 2 meters, but it's got an operating width that's just a fractionally wider than its rated width. So they're all too big. I didn't finish putting all the vineyard stuff on because we only did olives. The plan is to get to that when we plant the vines up on the hillside over there. Alright, so let's see. Let's go play cross country with our trailer here. Go. Swing the background. And we want 7-month-old. Select those. Oops, there's only 6 of them. What's the bet I'm leaving one? Yeah, I am. I'm leaving one in the paddock. Oh, well. In the sty, I suppose. Let's try not to drive them over the edge. And we're going to send you to Meatworks Animal Drop. Because you're going straight in for sale, I think. Rightio. You sold all the trees, so you can go back. Spotted tree load. Yes. But it makes a big difference if you have a tractor. So the combination that I was talking about I find works really well with this tractor. So my go-to tractor for vine work is this one. And you can run the mulcher on the front and the cultivator on the back. Put the big engine on it, the 145 horses, and she will power up the hill a treat. Don't mess around with those toy Antonio Carrero. They are completely useless as soon as you get off the flat because they don't have any traction. But this works really well. And it's just the right width. You can just set up a line straight down the center. If you want to use GPS, you can. I don't tend to because it's pretty easy to find the line straight through the vines and away you go. Now, what we were planning to do here was take you off there. Let me grab you. No, my first impression, because when they first came out, I was actually riding. I had a really fun operation going on Old Stream Farm. That was my first big map. I put 500 hours or so into it, and I was quite excited for them, and then really disappointed that I couldn't actually make them work because I'd put my vines on the hillside and they were bloody hopeless. And I thought it was me just being a newish player doing something wrong, and it became clear after a little while that no, they were just crap the way they'd been implemented, which is just disappointing. Yeah, thanks, champ. Yeah. Sell the honey. There we go. Too easy. And the other suggestion I would make is give the Aero harvester a go. Its big advantage is your seating position is central, and so it's actually much easier to drive down the row of grapes. It doesn't hold quite as much, so you need to bump the capacity up and cost you a couple of dollars more. But I actually found it much more fun to work with, actually. I quite like that Eero. I'd use it 100 times out of 100 over the Broad. To pop you back in here. Yeah, there you go. Another endorsement. Thanks, Jason. Let's send you back to Vineyard Park. Oh, mulching is coming along. Leave you there for the minute. And you've just arrived. We've got a little bit more meat products sitting out. Worry about that for the moment. Yeah, center seat is definitely, it just makes all the difference. I also found it's fractionally more maneuverable, at least it felt like it. So it worked better at the end of rows. Let's move you to production. Yes. What happened there? Let's try that again. Good. Now, I'll duck out. Do that with these guys. Righty-ho. Swing it around, come on. Are you in the trigger? What's the bet you're not? Oh no. Yep. Good bet. Try that again. Yes. Another load. Young Oscar had a an interesting weekend. Grant. Up we go. I thought he handled the sprint conditions really well and the qualifying conditions really well. What am I called? Oh, fence post. I'll do it. The old. How do I end up getting closer to it? Physics on these things are really interesting. Let's try and get this on that trigger the first time. Move to production, yes. $15 to go. Lovely. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I agree. I think it's all well and good to dive down the corner, and it's very easy for us to sit back and critique. But the first thing that occurred to me when it happened, first of all, Saints was always going to be a problem where he was. He's kind of not the guy that necessarily makes the best decisions. How did I do this again? I got caught on it. Not necessarily known for making the best decisions in the heat of the moment. And you know, when you've got a situation on any corner where you've got changing circumstances on one side and a fixed immovable object on the other, it's probably not going to end well for you because you've got no options. And he really just needed to, once he saw that start to emerge, he needed to back off and follow Science round the corner. Would have been a lot safer. Even if he'd run into the back of Science, he would have been better off than hitting the wall. Yeah, well, that exactly the same. From that overhead shot, it was kind of like, well, the one thing you know about this situation is it's going to continue to get tighter from your left, and the wall isn't going to move. So it's a learning experience. I think for a rookie, he's doing an amazing job. So. Right, so that's all of the pigs stocked. Now let's just check the production itself while we're here. So we've got 2 varieties of pig. We're making 2 varieties. Cool. That was a very clever idea, Jason. Well done. Have a good one. We've got a couple of things that, so it looks like we've managed to fill up the spawn area. Okay, and that's what the problem is over there. Let's send these back to the main pigsty. Yes. I did smile. I thought it was, but it's coming. It's been coming for a while. I'm not sure it's a team I would choose to bet my career on. No, well, when you think about how the sport works, they had to do something, I guess. Right, okay, so trees loading up there. G'day, Bruce, welcome in. Hope you are well. We are having a bit of fun here. We got our canola in. We need... Where have I put? I feel like I'm missing... There was one back at the store, but I feel like I'm missing at least one of these. Global transport pallets, so I might just have to sort that out in a minute. John, did you have a chance to watch Spa yet? Or was that dependent on getting your PC working? Yeah, the tricky bit here is we want to get the right product in it. Which means coming over here. Light. Now they should start to spawn, and if we're in the right spot, we should get all three of them. We shall. Lovely. Okay, we'll leave you going. Turn you off. Moves the harvester out of the way. I'll bet you I can't get 3,000 litres in that trailer. That's only because it's taking all your time to build your PC, John. I know that feeling. I had a horrible week last October, having to do the same thing when my PC wilted under the load of editing and streaming. Oh, actually, I probably hadn't started streaming very much then. I'd probably only done a couple. Right, where are we up to? Cows are not healthy, which means they've run out of food again. Okay. That's not good. We've got wheat. This is the problem I was talking about. So there is nothing in... There is wheat in that bin, right? So I got some in. But it won't pick it up off the floor. It's very odd. Yet it happily picked up the barley off the floor that preceded it. It's very strange. Very, very strange. I wonder if our new tractor, wherever I've got him, Let's get you out of the way. Let's just leave you there. Oh, wrong button. You'll probably do. So if you didn't notice, Bruce, we bought a new old tractor, so a second-hand Mercedes-Benz from the 80s, which seems to work quite nicely so far. Let's see if I can actually pull that out of there. Good day, John. Have a good one. Sorry, Gordon. Have a good one. Great to see you. Yes. Yeah, that was quite funny. You've gone from an i7 to an i5, or from an i5 to an i7. Let's what do we got here? We need the trouble with a lot of the Intel nomenclature is which generation of which, because they've had these i3s, i5s and i7s for a while, but the newer ones are vastly different in terms of how they work in parallel than the old ones. And similarly, the amount of cache that they're putting on the motherboards has changed quite a lot, I noticed. Right. Let's pick you up. What fool put that molasses there? Right in the way. Back it up. Right. There you go. That would be the difference. I find also it often makes an amount of difference just going to a clean install of Windows. Windows propensity, or Microsoft's propensity to bloat the operating system over time is just astonishing. You finished? For me, you're fermented, so open the silo. Very good. That's what we want. Yeah, 2 cups of peppermint sauce. Or maybe just some maize silage. Yep, lovely silage there and bucket loads of it over here. Can't operate the bucket and move my camera at the same time, not enough hands. Righty ho. What do we just do this load, and then I may require breakfast, I think. Whoops. Oh, get in there. At least you can call it a day, John, feeling like you've made some progress with your PC. It's always a lot better than having to call it in still with problems. Tito, no. He's heard something in the street. And yes, he is up. Now we need to throw some did you tip it on the floor? Well, some monkey didn't drive close enough to the trailer. That will do it every time. Right. That's that bit. Let's throw some molasses in. That's plenty. Sweeten it up a little bit. What's that one? 4,000. We want about. What's that mix looking like? 9,800. Just put a little bit more of that in. And the rest from straw should do it. Right. Now let's see. Okay, that's plenty of ergs to pull this around the yard, which is good. Now we'll see if we can back it in over there. Are you off walking again, John? While the weather's good? Oh. Unload. Rightio. I think it's gone 9 o'clock in the morning here in Oz. I think that's where... Oh, Yorkshire Dales tomorrow. We'll have a wonderful walk. And everybody that's on, thank you very much for watching. It is very much appreciated. I am off to have some breakfast. I'll be back at the same time on, for me, Friday morning. So in 3 days' time, and we will be back on the Oaks. If I've had time between now and then, we might even be up to harvest season. So we'll just have to see how we go. But until then, stay safe, have fun. Thanks again. See ya.